Hello everyone, just the usual weekly sound check before we go live at past. So as ever, if you can hear this and the picture looks okay, hello, could you please pop a comment in the live chat please. And if all that's working, I can go and make my cuppa. See you shortly folks. Good evening everyone and welcome to Ian's Studio Live, the 38th edition. Our theme for tonight is pets and presets. So welcome everyone, and just looking down through the live chat, just want to give a big welcome to everyone there. Terry, Bob, Peter, Michael, Andy, anyone else who's watching, do say hello in the live chat so that we know that you're there. Robin, hi Robin, nice to see you. I just spotted your name come up. David as well. And David just saying, yes, it's sad news, saying about the CMV ships being sold off. And yes, indeed, it is sad news. And at this point, I've just realized something. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to display the chat as I normally do during these live streams. Let me have a look. And no, I can't, because I didn't update the link on it. So, well, I can't put it on the screen for you, but we can carry on anyway. It's a minor thing. I'll read them out. So, welcome everyone. Welcome Walter. Right, people are starting to arrive now. Okay, let's get a move on with this live stream. So, if you are new here and you're not familiar with them, can I just ask you to take a moment to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss future ones and that you'll get updates of other videos coming on stream on the channel, and hit the little bell icon so you get those notifications. Do comment particularly in the live chat, and if you're watching it on the replay, do pop a comment in there just to say you've seen it. I do read them and I do answer all the comments. And as ever, my weekly appeal, hit that like button, because that shows to YouTube that you're interested in the video and that people are interested in my videos and live streams, and it helps promote it so other people get to know about it. Now, our record is 12 likes by the end of my introduction. So let's see if we can beat that tonight. We're already up to 7 on my screen. So do keep an eye on it, folks, because sometimes my screen doesn't show all of them. You can get to see how many more there are. So at the end of the intro, we'll have a look how many there are. If you haven't hit the like button yet, go and do so. Let's see if we can get that up to 12 or beyond this week. And as ever, my thanks goes out to everyone who's been sharing details of the show and letting other people know about it. Really appreciate that, folks. And if you've joined through seeing those, then you're most welcome. Thank you very much. So, about the shows, they are weekly. They are 7:30 on a Sunday night. I haven't missed a week since we started. They'll remain on YouTube for quite a while. Eventually, I'm going to cut them down, so do take the opportunity to go and watch them while they're still up there. Eventually, the full version will only be available in my academy for the old ones, but I will be putting extracts here on YouTube for you to have a look at. Again, if you're new, you may not know this, do ask questions in the chat if you're watching live, and if you're watching on the replay, post any questions that you've got in the comments field. As I said, I do read them, and if they are comments for me to answer on the show, I'll pick them up during the week and I'll answer them the following week on there. There is one other way you can support the show, and this is my Buy Me a Cuppa campaign, not sure what it's like. It's just a way that if you want to say thank you in a financial way, because it does cost me to put these shows on. And photography training is my business, and at the moment every little helps on there. So if you fancy trying to support, I've created a link called Buy Me a Tea. It's actually the same link to BuyMeACoffee, which you may have heard of, that a lot of YouTubers use, but because I am well known for drinking tea rather than drinking coffee, I got my link changed to that. There's the link on the screen behind me. It's also down below. Now, I always say thank you to those who have been supporting the show this way. And tonight, my thanks goes to Sue Tidd, for buying me a cuppa, and this is your cuppa, Sue. So thank you very much. Cheers. Oh, that's really nice, even though I say so myself. Right. There is another way I try to say thank you for people supporting the show, and I can't promise I can do this every week, but I'm giving out sort of little thank you gifts. And let me just try and explain a little bit about this. So for tonight, I'm going to, anyone who is supporting the show tonight, I'll send you a copy of the presets that I'm going to be talking about on the show. Once you've seen them, you might decide, yeah, I'd like a copy of those. Eventually, they're going to be going on sale, but as a thank you to people who've supported the show, you're going to get a copy of the presets tonight. I say at least 68, it's much more than that now. I'd written this slide and then I've added a whole load more, and there's more yet to be added into it. And you'll see how powerful they are and how they can improve your work on in Lightroom. Now, let me just say, every tea that you buy me through that buy me a cuppa link, buy me a tea link, I am treating as a tea credit, and I'm tallying them up as they're coming in. And anyone who's bought me three teas for the sake of argument, after that you will get 3 freebies that I'm giving out. I'm trying to do one most weeks. It's not going to be every week, I know that, but so far this will be week 4 that I've done it. So if you have purchased, bought me a cup of tea, keeping a tally of it, and you will get a copy of the presets. Now, if you're not a Lightroom user and you're not interested in these presets and you want your tea credit holding over for another time, just send me an email and I will credit it for another type of things that's another send out that I'm doing. And I've just noticed in the chat here, Peter saying, yeah, that Lightroom presets will not work in Affinity Photo. Yep, absolutely right. I would be absolutely amazed if they did on there. So these are for Lightroom when I get to them. I'll explain a little bit more when we get there on that. The one from last week, the pets one, that I'm still working on it. I've more or less finished writing it now. I've just got a couple more things that I need to write up based on the things I've been preparing for tonight. And then during this next week, next few days, I should imagine, that will go out to everyone who bought me a cuppa last week. And this week is, as I say, the presets on there. So, as I say, if you're not interested in Lightroom Room 1 and you have bought me a cuppa, just let me know and I'll count that credit towards a different thing later on for you. And again, that's the link. And anyone who buys me a cuppa this week, I say it's the presets. Other bit of general admin, the Facebook group. If you've stumbled across this through YouTube, I have a Facebook group which is very tightly linked with the live stream. And that's the link over my shoulder. Do join it. It's where we carry on the conversation during the week. I set challenges in there. I gather images that I'm going to be talking about from there. I also keep people up to date on what's going on with the live stream through that Facebook group. So please come and join it and share your photos. I normally set a theme for the week. This week I didn't set one specifically because it was a carry-on from the pets theme and I couldn't think of anything to do with presets that made a good theme, so I just left it open. Next week I'll have a different theme and I'll tell you what that is at the end of the show. Various other things coming up on there as well. I have a newsletter that's that generally keeps people up to date by email. A couple of times a month it goes out. It says weekly there. I aim for weekly. It very rarely is, I'm afraid. So another one due out during the week once I've got the latest photography guide on pets photography completed, and that will then be going out. The link to subscribe that is over my shoulder and also down below on the show. Now, I'm putting this on the screen because somebody who will remain nameless, Terry, decided that one of his lockdown photos on the group was going to be his feet in front of me watching in front of my live stream on there. So you may have seen that on the group. Well, I wondered what the show really looks like from Terry's point of view. So as we move on to the next section, this is Terry's view of the this is Terry's view of the show. So yeah, we're dealing with pet for. Hang on, sorry about this. No, Terry. This really is not a good way to watch the live stream. Could you just do me a favour and put your feet down? Yeah, please. Right, thank you. Right. That's Terry's view of the show. Right, we're looking at pet photography tonight. Part 2. There's only a small section on there. Just to finish that off, otherwise last week's show would have been really too long. Typo, Lightroom presets is the main thing, or one of the main things I'm going to be looking at tonight, and explaining this special set that I've created, how I believe it will help you with understanding how Lightroom works and speed up some of your processing on there. And we've got image feedback, not a huge image feedback session tonight, just 1 or 2 images from the people I named in the Facebook group on there, and we've got the live Q&A on here. So let's have a look. Have we beaten the record for the number of likes? Well, my display is saying 11 likes. Is that what everyone else is seeing? If it's still 11 for everyone else, we haven't beaten that record of 12 this week. We'll have to try again next week on there. Right, so Q&A part 1. I haven't seen any questions in the live chat for it. So if you have got any questions, pop them in the live chat. Remember, there's this delay, so by the time you hear this, oh, right, I've just been told everyone else is seeing 12, so we've equaled the record on there. We'll have to try and beat it next week. There is a delay on things going in the live chat and me seeing them. It's the other way round. There's a delay in you hearing me. So typically I will have moved on to another topic. If you post now, by the time you hear me say that, I've already moved on. If you're watching on the replay, you can email me questions during the week on contact me at ians-studio.co.uk. Right, it appears to be 12 on there. Oh, mine just says my like count has gone down went down to 10 and back up to 11 again. It's weird. My display is bizarre on here. Right, okay, so pet photography. Last week, what did we look at? We looked at photographing pets by themselves, and I looked at some of the techniques that we can use on there to get good photos. We looked at lighting, we looked at how to get the pet to, quote, perform and to be where we want them on set when we're photographing them, all those sorts of things. We also looked at humour and how that really works with pet photography, and a few examples of that, particularly one where I went through how I manipulated the scene to create the humour of it. And we looked briefly at exotic pets and some of the challenges with those and ways to photograph them, such as putting them on vinyl so we get reflections, and how to light them, things like that. So that's what we looked at last week. If you didn't see that and it's of interest to you, go back to last week's live stream, not now, but after the show, and have a look at that and catch up with it. So we're going to pick up tonight with looking at pets and people and that interaction between the two. And we're going to look at model shoots involving pets. So I know some of you who watch the show work with models, and this is where models and pets, usually exotic pets, come together. And I'll look at some of the techniques with that and talk about that, particularly with snakes, but not just snakes, other pets and exotic pets, and particularly exotic pets and the female nude. Now, just to let you know, there are images of nudity, but I don't switch off. I have censored them for the live stream because we need to keep this family friendly. So there's black boxes covering everything up. So hopefully nobody's going to be offended by that. When I send out the notes, the pet photography guide, those images will not be censored in there. And so it's fairly mild nudity in it, but it is there. So I just need to give you that warning and let you know on that. So let's start looking at people and pets. And the first image I wanted to show, this is using that lighting setup I talked about last week, where it's high key, flood the area with light, so it doesn't really matter which way the pet's facing and all that. And this is taking that stage of that we talked about where the owner might hold the pet in place, and then as I'm ready to take the shot, would withdraw so I can just photograph the pet, and then they'll go run after the pet, bring it back, and we repeat the process till we've got the shot. Well, what you can do is, instead of the owner withdrawing all the time, if the owner is comfortable, actually have the shot with the owner in there holding the pet, as you can see on this image. Sometimes it is just easier to do it that way. Now, the one thing I would say with this is that all these photos that I'm showing you with the owners are actually posed with models on there. This is Rachel. It wasn't her dog that she was holding there. She was just posing for an example photo for me on that. The next shot I'm going to show, this as a model called Jess that I worked with many years ago, and this is her dog, and it's actually photographed at her house. And although that first shot is fine, the owner just holding and the dog and being there, what we actually want to get, ideally, is an interaction between the owner and the pet. And one of the things that you can see here, she's giving the dog a hug. I don't think the dog seems too impressed actually on that image, but that's the idea. And the thing is about heads together. We do it with human portraits. If you're doing a couple shoot, you generally get people to lean their heads into each other, and that signifies a closeness to people. And here we've got a closeness between owner and pet. Another way with that is to actually have them in a very natural sort of way interacting with each other, playing together. So here I've got Jess with her dog, the paws up on the shoulder on there. So it's a very natural sort of look with it, and a relaxed sort of look that way. Or even something like this. Now this is Obi. Obi was a platinum reticulated python, and Obi has visited my studio on a number of occasions. Absolutely wonderful snake, fantastic personality. Why is she called Obi? Well, if you look very closely at the markings on her head, they actually look like the letters OBY. And that's how she got her name. Sadly, Obi has died, but we've still got some wonderful photos of her, including this one with Rachel posing with Obi, and Obi's wrapped around her on there. Now, the things with this, it's a relaxed pose, and that's what we're trying to get with these sort of interaction shots, something that's natural, that looks relaxed, The snake is relaxed, Rachel's relaxed and smiling, and she genuinely was with that. And what we did is we gave Obi to Rachel, and we actually sat Rachel on a chair. And we just let her sit there until Obi found her own position, this nice relaxed pose, so that it was relaxed for both of them. It wasn't Rachel trying to hold Obi in a particular position or anything like that. We just got this wonderful relaxed thing, and we just took our time over it. So as you see on the wider view here, you can see her seated, and we just waited. And sometimes it's just a case of being patient, waiting for the right shot, for that interaction to happen naturally. And as photographers, we just need to be there, ready, looking through the lens, so that the moment everything is right, we get the shot that we're waiting for. Now, when you are working with models and pets, it's important to have either the owner or an appropriate expert involved in the shoot. I've done quite a few shoots here at the studio involving snakes and exotic pets. I've lost count now how many I've done. It must be coming on for about half a dozen, something like that. Every shoot is different. I love doing them, and I hope once lockdown is over and we're able to shoot again, that perhaps I can organise another one of those. But it's important to have that expert there that I will refer to as we go through this as the wrangler, the animal wrangler. You need someone who understands the animals that you are working with. This is a safety issue as much as anything else. Partly for animal welfare, to make sure that anyone handling the creatures is doing it in the appropriate way. Making sure, as another example here in the studio, if we're dealing with reptiles, temperature is important, and it's important to get the temperature right. Too warm, and in terms of snake, they will be very, very active. Too cold, it's not good for them. So we've got to get that right balance. So having someone who really understands that there is critical to these sorts of shoots. It's also important for model safety. Now, I would not bring known dangerous creatures into the studio and ask a model to pose with them anyway. But there are times when an animal can behave in a way that could be dangerous. I'll give you an example a little bit later. I mean, it's little things with the snakes to make sure that they don't get themselves into a position where snakes can constrict, that they're not going to cut off blood or anything like that. And knowing what is safe and appropriate with the animals that we're working with. And the other one, as I was reminded online by my contact who's arranged the snakes for me in the past, one of the reasons you need a wrangler is to get the snakes back off the models. It's surprising, well maybe it isn't, that many of the models that have worked with the snakes, they do not want to give them up at the end of the shoot. And you need the wrangler to say, "Go, no, a snake's got to go back in his box on there." So yeah, the wrangler is there for a reason. And also, we use the wrangler to hand the animals to the models in the appropriate way, so that both model and creature is held there. The model is holding the creature in the appropriate way. And also to know what is safe. And I use this as an example. This snake is totally safe, but there are some snakes you would not want to set up this kind of shot with. So it's having the person who knows the animal there really helps on that. And for example, here with this Burmese python, as I said, snakes can constrict. So having someone who can keep an eye out for the signs of a snake starting to do that, particularly when they wrap themselves around the neck, they can be there to intervene if those signs are there that me as a photographer and not a snake expert would not recognize. Now, I wouldn't put a snake round the model that if I felt or the wrangler was telling me it could constrict, but I'd still want to have a wrangler there anyway for that safety measure, and that's important. The other thing just to say, I thought I had a slide on this, and it doesn't appear to have come up, is to say when it comes to doing shoots with the likes of snakes and other exotic animals, the models I choose, I try to work with models who are already familiar with exotic animals. And some of them, in fact quite a lot of them, have kept snakes themselves, so that they are more than aware on how to handle them, how to look after them. And the others I've chosen have been models who've worked with them in the past, so that I know that they know what they're doing. And if somebody isn't familiar, I try to have somebody on, well, the wrangler there to explain everything in detail. There's one, I put this photo in because it's one of my favourites actually of the snakes. It's a temptation shot. I've shown it before, and I've used a sort of selective colour along with desaturation to highlight the snake and the apple to give this idea of temptation. Did this as a solo shot here with Rihanna on there. I thought I had a caption with that. Anyway, I don't. Just a different way of doing it. Again, we lit for the background. We lit the background. We lit Rihanna. This one was where I deliberately, because I'm working more with models who understand the light a bit more, I was able to do more directional lighting, because with this shot, the light's coming from one side, but because Rihanna here is holding the snake, she could turn round to make sure the snake and herself are facing towards the light. So we've got that control there that wouldn't be available if the snake was just by itself on set. Here's the one I was saying, right. Moving on to the idea of art nude and exotic animals in a shoot. It really does make for interesting compositions for art nude shots. But this, again, this is what I was saying earlier. I always aim to work with experienced models who are familiar with working with exotic animals. Again, for their safety, for the animal's safety, and all the obvious reasons on there. So here we have zombie candy, just with a corn snake, and this one is one of the rare shots that I have actually left in colour for an art nude. I normally do these sort of art nude shots, as you'll see, in black and white, but this one, because the not corn snake, milk snake on here, I thought there was a mirroring between the orange of the snake and the model's hair, and the black background and the white highlights with the banding on the snake, that I thought that matching of colours meant that it was worth keeping this one in colour. Now this one there's a slight hint of colour to it, although you'd hardly be able to tell. It's desaturated, and this is the corn snake on here, again with zombie candy. And the aim is to try and evoke this idea of the snake in the desert, on there, the whole Cleopatra thing going on with the shot. How's it lit? Well, this is an unusual lighting. That white background is actually a large softbox. So I'm shooting into the softbox with the model lay on a table and the snake draped over the model. And we just had to wait for the snake to take up the appropriate position for the shot to work on there. Did a similar thing, again, this is still with Zombie Candy, using a large spider, tarantula I believe, and the idea of the bodyscape on there. Again, I find this kind of shot evocative on there. Now, the thing to say about this, and this again goes back to having people who understand the animals. Obviously, we're not going to work with a venomous spider. This is a non-venomous spider. But even that, there are safety implications to think about. They can leave these itchy, tiny hairs embedded in the skin. And it happens particularly if the spider is startled. So Zombie Candy was well aware of this. The owner briefed her on this to say, when you are lying there with the spider on you, just try to relax as much as you can. Don't do anything that's going to startle the spider, or you might get these itchy hairs left in you. As it happened, there were one or two on there which just happened anyway. But Zombie Candy was aware of this. She was up for the shoot. I think she's kept snakes herself and works with them and works with exotic animals on a regular basis. So she was an ideal model for this kind of shoot. And this is one of my favourite shots from that. Again, censored for the purposes of the live stream on there. And I think this is a very sort of, it's both sensual and slightly scary as images go. The nude female form with the spider walking over the body. Now, couple of things to say about this shot. It's lit exactly as I said earlier, with this backlighting, this softbox behind her. But think about the cropping on here, and I do this cropping quite regularly with these sorts of bodyscapes, and that is I crop from the nose down. And the reason for that is almost to anonymize the model, not because the model needs to be anonymous, but because it then becomes about woman in general rather than a specific woman, Zombie Candy. It becomes a general theme, and I think the images are stronger for doing that. Okay, let's just have a look over at what's going on in chat. Right, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, that way. Hang on, I've got an idea. Can you see? You can't see the chat doing it that way. I'll do it that way. Then you can see my screen, see what's going on there. So what's going on in the chat? I've not seen any questions come in at the moment on there. So no questions to answer at present with that. So we might as well move on then. And what are we doing? We are looking at these Lightroom develop presets. Excuse me a moment. And there's somewhere between 70 and 100 different presets in the pack that I've put together over the last week or so, based on presets I've previously created, based on settings I use on images on there. So the aim is to simplify creating certain effects, but also to help you and to guide you through the develop process in Lightroom. And you'll see, hopefully, the power of what I've set up. Now, a couple of things to say. It won't do everything. It will get you a long way with your processing in Lightroom. Will it mean that on images you can just use the presets and that's it? Absolutely not. Almost certainly you will need to make adjustments, but the aim of the presets is to get you actually in the ballpark of where you need to be with your images, and then you can take over and just do a few minor tweaks. So let's head into, yeah, as I said, anyone who has a tea credit, who's bought me a tea recently, or buys one during this next week, I will send you a copy of these presets. Now, these are my beta version of them, and I'm sending them out. I'm hoping that you'll be able to give me a little bit of feedback on what works, what other presets you need in the pack for the process to work. And then what I'll do is when the final version of them is released, I'll let you have you'll have those as well, so you get the final pack on those. But at the moment, it is very much a beta version. I've still got a couple more that I know I want to put in there. I need to expand the number of black and white presets, for example, on there. I've only got 3 or 4. I want to get that up to about half a dozen or so on it. And yeah, just to say also, if there are particular image looks that you would love to have a preset to do, either send me the image with that look in, or post a link to it if it's not one of yours, or post it in the Facebook group if it is, and I'll try and find the presets to actually create that and add that into the pack. So we're going to look at, first of all, how to create presets, how to install this set of presets that I've got, and then how to use them for standard editing, and then how to apply the effects to create particular color grades on there. So let's, as the slide says, let's head over to Lightroom. This is the point where I can no longer see the chat from this point on. So Lightroom. Here we go. Right. Let's just have a look on here. What I'm going to start with, I've got my presets open here. We've got all the ones which come with effectively with Lightroom. So there's already things like vignetting available in there, different levels. I've got my set for those. So if you don't want the Lightroom built-in ones, let me go full screen on this. You see things a little bit better. Under the menu here, we've got Manage Presets, and this allows us to turn off some of the presets. So I'm going to make this nice and easy. I'm just going to turn off all my previous ones. They're still there. I can pull them back. They're just not visible. And I'm going to get rid of all of those just to keep this nice and clear. So save. So the only thing I've got is the defaults, which are those in there. Right, so I want to create a preset. And let me just find an image on here to work with for this. Let's go with, let's just go with this image. And let's say I want to do a preset of a color grade on it. So my color grade, I'm going to work with a black and white image. So first of all, I'm going to choose a black and white profile. So browse, and I'm going to go, I'll go with black and white 3. It happens to be one of my favorites, as those of you who've seen me do black and white conversions will know. So close that. So I've got that in there, and I'm going to make sure I think everything is turned off on. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll reset so I know absolutely nothing is enabled on there. And that now I'll go back to my black and white 3 on it. Now, so I've got that. I want to put a colour, do a colour grade with it. And it's a good time for me to then talk about colour grading and these wheels and options on there. We've got at the top on colour grading 5 different displays on here. We've got 3-way, which is the current one, where you can see your midtones, your shadows and your highlights all at once, and you can play with those individually on there. So I might want the midtones, for example, to be a sort of sepia on there. Let's do something really wacky and say I want the highlights to be green, but the shadows to be green and the highlights to be, I don't know, magenta. And you end up with this really wacky sort of thing. I could do something weird and wonderful like that. I'm not going to. I'm just going to double click on that and reset it. So you can control all 3 on the same screen, but you can also go to the just individual ones of them. And I often find this more useful. So I'm now just on the shadows, and I can do it by using the color wheel. I could go with greens. More often I'm often in the sepia sort of areas over here. But sometimes it's actually easier to use the sliders. I happen to know that for sepia tone, I want about 36 on there, and then I can decide how saturated I want that. But remember, I'm only adding this onto the shadow areas, not onto the highlights. So I could then go over to the highlights, and I might decide, well, I want a contrast color on the highlights. So I could come down and say I want blues down there. And again, I can control the blue in there. And then the balance between the two is the same. This is the same as if we were using the old split tones, where do we want more towards the shadows, which is the brown, or more towards the highlights, which is the blue tones, and I can control where that is. But what we've now got is we've got the midtones in there, and that's the middle part of the image. So you could say, right, I want that to have a slightly different look to it. I could do something really wacky on the midtones. Not going to. I'm just going to double click on that to center it on there. So you've got that, but let's just reset all of this. If I just want to do a sepia overlay, we've got global, which is over on here. And I can go up to, say, what was it, 36-ish, move up the saturation, and that's doing effectively both the highlights, the shadows, and the midtones with that color overlay. And it's really quite powerful because we've also got a luminance slider, which allows us to lighten and darken the image as part of our color grade on there. And that comes in handy with something. So I'm going to say that's my my color grade on that, on there. And maybe I want a vignette on there. So I'm just going to pull in a slight vignette, feather it, that's way too much. Just do something like that. That's my color grade. I now might decide, well, I like that. I want to apply it to other things. So creating a preset. I go over here, I click the plus on there and select create preset. And I give it a name. All my presets begin with my initials, and I'm going, you'll see the set that I'm making available has a number after them, and that's to put them in a sequence. I'm not going to do that with this one. I'm just going to call this demo preset. Then I know I can get rid of it later. I'm going to put it in a group called user presets. And the next thing I do, I always then check none. And then I start to think what items need to go in the preset. And the trick with creating presets is you just put into it the things which are essential. So in this case, the color grade, that's the main thing that we want, but we also want the treatment and profile. That black and white 3 needs to be in there. Otherwise, we'll be applying this color grade potentially to a color image. So I'm ticking that, and I've put in I put on a vignette. Now, is that part of what I want to save here? Now, for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to say it is. So the post-crop vignetting has been enabled. With the set that I'm going to show you, what I've done is I've effectively created, this would be 2 separate presets. One for the color grade, which is the treatment plus color grade, or just the color grade by itself, if it could be used on either, and one for the vignette, so that they are individual items that you can apply in as different building blocks. But for this, I'm going to create it as it is. So there we go, we have our preset on here. So I could choose another image. Let's go with, different stack of stones. This set here, I'm just going to reset it completely on there. And now I can just go over here and notice, and this is why presets are so powerful, that as I hover over it, it shows me what it's going to look like. So I hover over it, I see it, I apply it, and you can see those settings that I used for the crop are there, and the ones for the color grade have been applied. So that's the power of presets. For if anyone didn't know how to use them, how to create them, that's what they're there for. Now, I've created my own set. So at this point, I'm just going to delete that demo one because I don't need it. And instead, I'm going to load the set that I created. And this is how you'll load them yourselves once you've got the file. I've packaged them up as a zip file, and you can load all of them as a whole group from that zip file. So let me show you how to do that. Hello, I didn't mean that. Hang on, something's gone horribly wrong here. My whole screen's just suddenly got larger. I've gone into some form of mode where I don't know what's going out on the feed at the moment, but what I have got, I've gone into sort of everything that is absolutely huge on my my monitors. So what I'm seeing is I'm moving around, and the whole thing, I've gone into some form of magnifier group mode, and I have no idea how to get out of that. I think you're seeing part of it over my shoulder. Right, this is going to be interesting, folks, because I've no idea. It's probably some form of accessibility thing. Control panel, right. How the heck did that happen? Right. This is enough to throw the entire live stream. Accessibility. If anybody knows how to get out of it, could you put a comment in the live chat for me, please? I'm not even sure I can get to it. Right. Windows and minus, someone is saying. Right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, on that. Right, where was I? I was in Lightroom, or meant to be. Let me try and get back over there now. Right. Yes, right, okay, now we know how to do it. Well, thank you for the comment and the explanation on how to get out of that. Right, let me reset everything on here. Presets is what I was trying to do. You hit the plus button and import presets. And wherever you've stored them, I've stored them in my supporting materials folder for this particular live stream. You click on the zip file and go full screen so you can see what's going on. Click on the zip file and import. Takes a moment, and now we can see on here that we have all these different presets enabled. They're all in a group of their own so that they can be easily pulled up. Now, this is one of the things that I'm pondering about with this pack, is whether I need to separate the different sections of it into their own groups or not, and I'm undecided on that. I'll show you how it all works, and then perhaps you can tell me. Right, let me pick an image to work on. What's this one? That could be quite an interesting one. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off by hitting reset. I don't believe that for one moment is how it was. I'll reset that. Yeah, that's not the one. Not one of the images I want to work with there. Where's the ones I want to work with? Yeah, let's take one of these as an example, and I will do a reset. This was a studio shoot with Graham, and as I go down my list of presets here, the first two, one is called Import Defaults. This is a set of settings that I always apply to every image, and I want them to be applied when I bring images into Lightroom. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can right click on that and say apply on imports, and whatever is in that preset now, when I import something, will get that applied. I actually don't want it as default on mine, because if I'm pulling in your images, I don't want that to apply. So I want to be able to control it on the import dialog, and that's the other way you can do it. You can specify it on the import dialog. I've then created another one, which I call Import Defaults with Reset. And basically, if I've got an image that's already got processing on it, this one you can see a bit of vibrance, clarity, various things enabled on there. That one, I hit that, it resets everything and then applies the import defaults. What are my import defaults? Well, I always add a little bit of clarity, and I always add a little bit of vibrance to my images. That's my style, so I always do that. The other thing I always do is lens corrections. So I always have the remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections selected. There is absolutely no reason at all why you should not apply those. Why would you want an image with chromatic aberration in there? Why would you want an image that isn't corrected from distortion on there? So that is a preset which will get me back to that starting position with those couple of extra settings. So no matter what the image is, something like that, I can hit that and I'm back at my starting point for any work. Then as we move down, I've ordered all of these with a number in front to keep them in the right order. And what these do, this is the order in which I will go through processing an image. So the first set is choosing your white balance. And the reason I've done a preset for them is twofold. Partly because if we've got a JPEG, if I find some JPEGs down here, DNG, DNG, DNG. I should have some. I know I've got some in here. I just don't know where they are. PSDs. Oh. This is sod's law. Last time I was trying to demonstrate something along these lines, all I could find was, I wonder whether, yeah, do it with the PSD. I think PSD behaves the same way. Yeah, if it's not a raw file, what you will find is your white balances are as shot, auto and custom, which means you get to control it. The fact that I have now created presets for all of the others means I can actually apply those specific white balances off here. So that even if it's a JPEG, you might think, all right, well, actually, I want the shade white balance applying. So I can just select them off here. So it's a way, if you're not shooting JPEG, not shooting RAW, you can still have that specific color white balance. In addition to that, I've created 4 extra ones. Ones I call Sunset 1, Sunset 2, Sunset 3, which do particular things with sunsets on there, and a theatre one, which is the white balance I use for all my theatre work. So I know at least one person on here will be very interested to know what that one is. And you can see those are the settings. It's basically tungsten, but warmed slightly is what I do with that. So the tungsten one, I go up to tungsten, or down to it, I should say. Why is it not showing it? I'm not showing the difference. Why is that? Oh, yeah, because I need to be on a DNG file. Right, so on here, the tungsten one, that's your settings, 55550 plus 4. But the theatre one, you just, that's interesting. That display's not updating as I would expect. There may be a bug with my my theatre set, because it should be slightly different to tungsten incandescent. So I need to look into that one. Anyway, that's not what I was trying to show. I was trying to show that you can see how quick it is to sort of scan over and find the white balance that you're looking for. So let me go back to that one I was looking at of Graham, which was way down. No, not way down there. Come on, where are you? Come on, Graham, show up. Oh, there we go. So, right, let's do the full reset. I can then choose the white balance that's going to be appropriate for it. Well, I was in the studio, so flash is the right one. Now I move down to the exposure set. Again, same idea. I just roll my mouse over and I just do that until I see the right exposure that I'm looking for. So I think for this one, probably just 1/3 of a stop higher I should have been shooting at on there. Then the same thing with the recovery of shadows. I can just go down and see what works best for the recovery of shadows. And what I've got with the endings on here is the TC is the tone curve. So I published a video a while back where I looked at the difference between using the tone curve and the shadow recovery in Lightroom, and I discovered that for small changes the tone curve is better, but for larger changes the recovery slider is better. So I've set these up that the first two, 0 is a complete reset on that, so it takes your your shadow recovery down to 0. But then 1 and 2 are done purely on the curves. Number 3 then starts adding in a little bit of the shadows recovery. So I can just, oh, didn't mean that one. I can move over here. It's difficult to see, but those shadows are just opening up a little bit on there, and I would say somewhere around about there for that. And then with the highlights, again, same thing. And it's sometimes it's just so much easier just to scan up and down on there. I don't think I need much in terms of highlight recovery, if any, so I'll just go with that one. And then again, it doesn't work on here, but I'll show you later. Transform, again, I can just hover over them. I've got an extra one as a reminder for cropping there. And then if I'm working in color, I've got various presence settings. We go full screen again. And the presence ones, the code is on here as to what it is. So presence is these 5 sliders. So boost 1 just adds a little bit of extra vibrance to it, a lot more vibrance. And then we start using the dehaze. I've called it demist because I'm doing more than just the dehaze. You can see the dehaze goes up, but I'm also playing around with the vibrance. And oddly enough, I found with strength 4, it goes from strength 1 to 4, that actually I had to take the vibrance down to 0 for it to look right. And you can see those different settings. So again, I can just roll the mouse over and find one I like. So I'm going to be going with black and white on this, so I don't really need to do anything. I've got sky enhancements. I'll show you those on another image on there. And special effects. Rick, you will hate this, but these are pop color ones. Again, don't use them. They're there for those people who insist. But then black and white. I've got 4 black and white ones. The first one, black and white 0, actually resets it to color. It's just a nice, easy way that if I'd gone to something black and white and decided I didn't want that, I can go back. The first one uses the standard Adobe Mono and an auto black and white mix, and it's there purely for comparison. So you can have a look at that, then compare it with different ones. So I think on this one, black and white 9 with a little bit of extra contrast. So that's my my setting on there. And then we've got the color grades. So I can look down here and decide these different ones. So there's a blue. If I go over to the color grade, you can see what it does. I'll go to that one. There's a blue-brown split on there where the shadows get the browns and the highlights get a blue on there. There's a blue sepia, a cream tone, which is just a slight creaminess to the highlights, a sepia, and that will convert it to monochrome as well. And this summer one, again, it's an outdoor one really, doesn't work, and what I call my 3 sisters, which forces it back into colour. I call it 3 sisters because it comes from a play I photographed called the 3 Sisters, a particular effect on there, which is a desaturated effect with a sepia wash over it. So for this image, I'm going to go with the blue. No, which one am I going to go for? Let's reset that. I was going to go with that black and white, and I'm just going to go with the sepia monochrome on there. Might need a little bit of highlight recovery on it, a bit more. I don't know whether I've misclicked on something on there. Yeah, so it's looking like I've misclicked on that. And then as we go down, I can now choose vignettes. And again, I've got various strengths of vignette. And again, I can just roll the mouse over. I'm not clicking on anything, just moving it up and down to see different versions. And I've got 3 white ones. So if you're doing anything that's old-fashioned, like this particular image would work well with those, well, I call it subtle edges, or even the photo border. So again, all predefined in there. And then finally, noise on that. So I come in, zoom in to be able to do it. Actually, I need 100% on that. And I can decide how much noise reduction. Now, these tend to be the ballpark ones. Do you need to do it and check it afterwards? Yes, but if you're doing something very quickly, if you look at the moustache here, if I go to that one, you see we're losing detail on there because that's over noise, too much noise reduction. This is in the studio, the ISO. I don't need noise reduction on it. I could do a little bit of sharpening, so noise reduction 0, sharpening 119, and that's given me a good starting point for the image. So again, let me show you on one other one. With this one, I'll run through it very, very quickly and I'll move on and show you a couple of others. So reset it, decide on a white balance, which would be flash, the exposure, need to bring it up a little bit. I think actually nearly a stop on that one. Ooh, a bit of recovery on there, going too far to about there. Highlight recovery, just bring that down just slightly onto there. Nothing to do on the transforms. Presence, well, I'm going to be going black and white on this, so I don't really need to do anything on there. No sky to enhance, definitely not using the special effects. So I'm going to go with my standard black and white 3, and then look for, I think I'll go with the cream tone on it because I quite like that on here. And then let's make it look like an old faded photo and put a subtle edge around it and a bit of noise reduction. Now, is that perfect? No, but it's got me in the right ballpark to be able to do the work on here. And I'm also going through the steps in a logical way. And I can now look here and see what the settings are. So you can use this as a tool to help you learn how to process and create effects like this in Lightroom. I'm just going to nip over to the chat and have a look what's going on in there and see whether there's any comments gone in with it. Oh, Terry saying I never mentioned that about that preset in when I was training him in theatre photography. Didn't I, Terry? My apologies on there. Right, okay, let's head back over into Lightroom. And let's go with an outdoor image. Let's have a look at, say, this one, for example. And I'll reset it completely. Already is. Oh, it's a JPEG. Do I want to do it with a JPEG? No, I don't want to do it with a JPEG. I told you, whenever I try to find whenever I grab an image, I end up picking JPEGs, but I don't know. Let's go with the gate. That's definitely a DNG. I completely reset that. And again, I'll go through the entire process on here just to show you. So we do the reset. And what white balance? And here you can see the different white balances on it. And do I want a sunset sort of look? I can do that. I've got those available to me if I wanted. I think a cloudy one will do nicely on there. Let's have a look at the exposure as I come down, find one that works. So about, I think actually I wasn't far off with the exposure when I got the shot, so I'll stick with that. Shadow recovery, I want to bring those shadows up just a little bit to about, say, there. Highlight recovery. Yeah, I want to bring those down so I can get that detail in the sky, maybe about there. And now this is where you can see the difference with these, the transform. Upright off, And again, I can hover over these to correct, and it's very, very quick. So level will get anything that's supposed to be horizontal, or it thinks is going to be horizontal, horizontal. Anything vertical. Full will square absolutely everything up. And guided allows you to do the guided and auto. So I'm going to go full with that. And now we move down to the presence, so we can choose how much of an effect we want in there. And you can see as we go through these, the different effects that that's having on the sky. So I can just boost saturation, or I can do, so I think that demist 2 is quite a good one for this. So I go that. And I can boost the sky. Now this is a, actually I go full screen again so you can see. This is saturation boost and on it, and I've also, it's a saturation boost to the blue channel basically. So I'm just controlling it by using those. So effectively over here, what it means is, if you look on here, and I said, right, I'm going to boost all those blues up by saturation 20 and lightness -20. If I click that one, you can see the blue's gone up a little bit and the luminance has gone down. So that's what they do. And here's another one I've put in. It's a graduated dehaze. So it's a graduated filter. It takes the exposure down very slightly and dehazes it. So if I just reset my sky on there, I could choose to do that. You see how this one, I'd say the mid one. If I now go to the graduated filter over here, my point's already in there with the settings, and I can adjust that, pull it down to where I want it, and that's really made my sky look quite dramatic. On there, I'm going to skip over those pops on there, and I've now got the option of doing black and white conversion, so I can have a look at these and decide, do I want to convert this to black and white? So I think that actually looks really neat in black and white, so I could then choose that and say, right, I'll have that as a black and white image. I think it needs a bit of a vignette. How far down? I can move down, that's way too far. Move up to the one that's about subtle there. And then finally, do I need any noise reduction on it? Come out of that mask over here and zoom in. Doesn't look like I need much in terms of noise reduction on that shot, so I'll just sharpen it. And that's a full conversion done in a very logical way down through an image using those presets. So that's the technique and the idea behind it, to just sort of guide you through how to do this sort of processing and how to create that dramatic image. If you want to see the difference, the before and after, which is the slash key, top left to bottom right, that was before, that's after. And as you saw, all of that done just using that toolbox of presets in there to guide. Want to know about those pop color ones? Let me find the image I need. There we go. So the idea of the pop color on it, you can see now blue, green, orange, red. You can pop color those. Now, if I wanted to pop color a person with it, let's find my standard pop color image. It's in here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Let's reset that and go through this. Defaults with reset, so there we go. Find the white flash balance, exposure. I'm just going to bring, I need to bring the exposure down slightly. I'll save it there. Shadow recovery up just a little. I'm not going to recover any highlights because I actually want them burnt out on this. That's one I want to create, one for dealing with those highlights, white backgrounds as well. And I could add a little bit of a color boost onto it, like that. And now the pop color. If I want to go with the red, can you see what's happened? That we've still got a little bit of, there's still a little bit of red in the skin tones. So, oh. So how do we deal with it? Well, let's fit that into there. This is one you have to do with an adjustment brush. So adjustment brush, double click effect to reset everything. And this is where saturation, there it is, put the saturation down to 0, and I would typically then also set auto mask, and I can then just go over those legs, the arms, around the face as well, and that just deals with the things in there. Now, would I ever produce an image looking like that? Other than for a training video, no, I wouldn't. It's a little bit too cheesy on there, doing it like that, but I wanted to show the technique on how you would then clean things up with the pop color on it. So we've got those, and that's really the toolkit. So what I now need to do is come back over to here. I've got to just change over my catalogue whilst we're on there. So excuse me a moment. That's it. While that's relaunching, let's have a look what's been going on over in chat. Well, at the moment, it doesn't look like much is going on in chat at all. So either I've sent you all to sleep with this idea of using presets, or it's not of interest to you, who knows. I've now got the other thing coming up, which is your images for some feedback. So what I've done this week, I've just picked a handful, mainly the pet ones, and a few others, and I'm just going to go through them in Lightroom and give you a little bit of feedback on them. So let's start over here. Peter with the cat. Again, I don't have the shooting information. Nicely in focus. Shallow, I think the depth of field's a little too shallow because the nose is out of focus and the ears are out of focus. I'd like to have seen that depth of field just a little bit bigger on here, and I think it probably just needs a little bit more exposure. So 2/3 of a stop, something like that on there. Karen, dog on horseback. Not quite sure what camera you were using on here. I have a feeling this might have been a phone shot looking at it. Again, this one would have benefited from a shallower depth of field on there. And I think somehow you managed to focus on the background as well. The dog looks very slightly out of focus with it. I would also like to have seen the other feet of the horse in the shot with that. Okay, Bob. Right, I'm going to this is a nice starting point shot, but I think we can do something with this, and I'm going to go through it with my presets. So reset everything on here, find a white balance that works for it, and I'm going to go with maybe shade or cloudy. I'll go with shade, actually. I was tempted to go with sunset. I'll go sunset 2, actually. It's a slightly warmer one on there. That's now, do I need to do anything with the exposure? No, I think your exposure is quite good when I'm not hovered on 0. Shadow recovery. Just a little bit, I think, needed on the trees. So maybe just about there on that. Highlight recovery. Let's see if we can get some detail back in that sky. Don't think we're going to. We can go a little bit back to there. Now this is where the transform kicks in. Again, we've got auto, we've got a leveling, full, guided. So you can see we can go round so we find the one that works for it. I think auto, probably the right one on here. And then a little bit of presence effect to it. Let's try and find something that brings it in. Don't want to boost it that far on this one, but I think something like that. Now, sky enhance. I don't want to do it with the graduated dehaze filter. You can see that darkening up at the top. If I go full screen, you see this a little bit better. No, that didn't work. Try that. But these blue boosts might give a little bit. No, it's not. There's no blue in that sky at all. So no, not going to do any sky enhance. Definitely not going to do any pop color. Now, am I going to go black and white with it? No, I don't want to. But I can still split tone over the top. So that blue sepia one. But look at the summer. That's probably a little bit too far actually with it on this one. But it's trying to give that golden summer washout look that's quite popular. Could work with it. And even that just sort of sepia effect over the top goes quite nicely with it. So I think a little bit of sepia monochrome over the top of it. Do I want a vignette? I don't want the white ones, that's for certain. Maybe just slightly onto there. I've got something like that, and then a bit of noise reduction. So that's got me got the image into the right ballpark. I might just then come over and just tweak the exposure very, very slightly. Further a stop, added on, and the image is done. So before and after. Between those. Again, as you say, other than that one little exposure tweak at the end, I did it all using the preset toolkit on there. So that's the sort of thing which I think would work with that particular image, Bob. John, image here of spider, I really like it, it's lovely and sharp, but a bit underexposed for my liking. Again, just bring that up very slightly. I might also be tempted to push that clarity very slightly. I think you've already done some on the clarity, but do that. Nice shot. And here, underexposed, I'm afraid, John. We'll bring that up a bit. I might do this again, do this quickly through here. Reset. Let's find a suitable white balance. I quite like the sunset actually on that one. Exposure, bring the exposure right up on it. Shadow recovery, we need to do a little bit on shadow recovery onto there. Highlight recovery, bring down. And then this is where the different ones get confused. I'm not going to apply any of those. Presence boost. You've got, again, different sort of effects. Now, I don't like the way that's gone all grainy with those. With the sky, can we get enough with the sky? We can't do much with the sky other than using these graduated filters. And again, not sure on that. But I would then think about color grading it. Maybe not too far. Just a vignette. Something like that, down a bit. Again, let's have a look at the difference between the two, the before and after. Again, it's a toning thing with it and just dealing with those blocked up shadows. Lovely shot from Nick here. I like the way it's on the 1/3 line. There's effectively a diagonal through there as well, and that darkening around the edges, natural vignette, works really well. Again, another image here. I could just apply a summer grade to it, and that's quite nice. A little bit of contrast on there, and exposure down very slightly, and nice shot. Just lifting it to that nice warm tone. Could do the same with that. I think it's a nice shot as it is, Robin. Not a lot I need to do on there. Spot the fisherman, as we discovered. Would I put a little bit of extra vibrance in? I like my images a little bit more vibrant than most people. Had to include this one from Peter, a TARDIS bird feeder apparently. Again, a little bit underexposed. I'm just brightening that up and the shadows up on it so we can see on there. So that's nice. That started to show things at the bottom that were perhaps meant to be hidden, but we'll bring that back just a little bit. Nice one here from Terry. Again, do I want a little bit more light into it? It's a bit on the blue side. I know it's meant to be a sunset one, so let's see what happens if I put my sunset, one of my sunset white balances into it. I think that one works a treat. A little bit of highlight recovery. Something like there. And then what about leveling it all off? That's as was, that's the auto, which actually I think isn't good. I can't decide. I'm going to do it manually because I want to see the grid. Oh, this is a terribly difficult one to try and level up. I'm going to go with that on there. And then Sky Enhance. We want to use perhaps one of the graduated filters, just a subtle one. M to go into that, and I can just then bring that down and tilt it. Follow along there. That helps bring out the detail in that sky with it. Off there. And then do I want a vignette with it? I certainly don't want a white one. Maybe just a very, very slight vignette just to do that. And then if I zoom in, I can see whether I need some noise reduction. Difficult to tell because I'm not full screen, of course, not full resolution. So I don't think it needs much, so I do that. So then, that's my edit on it, Terry. That was your original, and that's mine just bringing out those sort of colours in there using the presets. And all right, moving on. Yawning cat. Well done for getting the tongue in focus on there. I think there's a little bit of camera blur on there, motion blur more than anything. I don't know whether that was a grab shot with a phone or whether that was with the camera, but just watch your shutter speed so everything is frozen on there with that. And I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to go over to that one, go back over to there and just say previous. Definitely too far on that. Yeah, bring it all back down. No, don't like that at all. I think it needs to be a little bit warmer, so I can go through here, try and find the right. That's too warm for it. So I think shade. That's odd. It's definitely having trouble on JPEGs with these. It's not applying them. It did when I did my tests, honest. So I think there's a bug somewhere along the lines with those and the, because we can see what they're meant to look like, but it's just not applying them. I might have to check that one with Lightroom and Adobe to find out what's been going on with the JPEGs and white balance, because it should work and did work on there. But basically, I think it just needs warming very slightly on that one, Gary. I just love this one, Robin, of the birds. Again, I just think it's slightly cold. It doesn't need much, just a couple of points on the, what does Auto give you? Oh no, Auto did that. I'll go back to our shot. I just think it needs that little bit of warmth to it on there. Like this one, Neil, the only thing I would do is I'd like to square it all up. So again, let's just use my my presets for doing that, which is the transform ones. Auto. Yeah, it's not done much on it, but it has helped a little bit. And I would also just bring your exposure up just a little bit and really boost the contrast so you can see that, and the clarity onto there is how I would do that one. So that's wrong. That I like the concept behind it, Neil, on there. And what I've just done are a little bit of nitpicks on it. Peter, again, same sort of thing that I've done with a lot of the others. I just boost the exposure on here, and I would probably just tone it. I quite like that summer tone. I think it's just because I don't normally manage to get images that way, but I would perhaps do something like that with it on there, just give it that nice warmth. Or if you didn't want that, you want a cooler sort of effect, go various things like that with it. On there, nice shot. I like the mistiness, like the framing on the edge on it. Peter, nice shot on there. Again, don't be afraid to just boost the clarity and contrast on something like that. That works nicely. Right, Gary, I don't know whether you're watching at the moment, but I'm intrigued by these filters that you were sharing the images of. You've got some nice shots. I know you were talking quite really long exposures with it. I think this was the best of the set that you did, and they seem to be pretty cheap filters for a really good effect. Perhaps would you be willing to share the details of where you got them from with the in the Facebook group for us to have a look at, because I could do with some really. I've got ND filters, but nothing that allows those sorts of times on there. Richard, lovely koala, great image. I love the bokeh effect on there. As ever, absolutely pin sharp focus and sufficient depth of field that the whole of the bear, it's not bear, are they? They're like marsupials. No, I don't know. The koala, the whole of it is in focus. The eyes are sharp, the hair's sharp, all the way around on there. And those claws, ouch. I don't think I'd want to hold one of those with claws like that, but lovely shot. Nothing more I would want to do with that. And a red fox, I believe. I think your white balance might be off slightly with it. It looks a little bit cold to me. I think just needs very, very slight warming up on it. It's only a minor bit, and as ever, tack sharp. Well done, Richard. And then this one by John, just the light through the leaves, nicely done on it. Wouldn't change anything on there. Excellent, excellent shot, John, on that. So those are the images for today. I'm just going to have a look at the chat, what we've got. Yeah, Richard's saying was making pudding. Oh, right, okay. Oh, yes, yeah, pop colour ooh on that. So yeah, the presets are there to help guide you through processing in Lightroom. So you go through them down the red panda, yes, not red fox. They're there to just sort of help guide you through. And those of you who have got a T credit, I'll get an email out with that zip file so that you can have a play with them on that. And once the final version's available, I'll let you have those as well, along with the documentation. Ultimately, they're going to be going on sale, so this is really a one-off chance. Academy members, if you're an Academy member, you're going to get them. You'll get them through the Academy on there. As ever, the Academy members get everything. So I just want to say thank you for watching on that. And let me go back over to, oh, Terry, put your feet down. Can't trust him. Right. Okay, so that's what we've been looking at. Any questions in the chat? Not seen any come through for the live chat on there. So that just leaves me time to wrap up. So as ever, thanks for watching, folks. Thanks for letting me play with your images and provide feedback on there. As ever, if you aren't subscribed and you found this show helpful, please subscribe, please comment, and please hit that like button on there. And once again, if you do find the shows helpful and want to financially contribute, there's no obligation to, but if you think it's worthwhile and it would be helpful to you, that's the place where you can do it. And as I said before, thanks, Sue, for this week's cuppa. And anyone who does contribute this week will get the presets that I've gone through tonight on it, and you'll yeah, do let me know how you get on with them. As I say, they are a beta version, and I'll try and improve these. So next time, home abstracts, I'm calling the theme for the week. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'll post some examples to the Facebook group, but basically something that you can photograph at home to create not just an object, but something that's a bit more abstract with it. The best example that we got, remember that tyre photo that was the ones I was giving feedback on? That is an abstract that could be shot at home. So that type of thing is what we're going to be talking about. And hopefully next week I'll show you a few ideas that you might want to try, because although we're allegedly coming out of lockdown, we're probably going into various different tiers and we probably still can't do very much. So these will hopefully be ideas that maybe you can try them over Christmas and things like that over December. On there. So thanks for watching, folks, and until next time, as ever, keep making great photos, and bye for now. Right, just remains for me to record the alternative ending for when this eventually becomes a cut down version. So here goes. Thanks for watching this cut down version of Ian's Studio Live. If you want to see the full thing, it's now exclusive to my Academy members. bits and pieces of this will be up on the various YouTube channels, so do go and have a look at those. And as ever, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, keep making great photos. Bye for now.